Will Matthew Modine make any cameo appearances during this episode? Because that'd be totally awesome.
Hit actor from the film Wind.
Vision Quest.
Classic movie, by the way. Linda Fiorentino in that. Boy.
Every day of mine is a Vision Quest, actually.
Who can tell me the name that that Matthew Modine's character in Vision Quest had to go up against in the final wrestling match?
Swede.
They're good.
Do you remember the names of Jiminy Glick's kids?
No.
Matthew and Modine.
Oh, really?
Jiminy Glick would be shit.
Do you know the names of the key grips?
So I want to welcome everybody to your Monday morning roast. I'm your host, Joe Webb, along with my co-hosts and best industry friends, Bill Playford, David Hudson, Brent Wees, and Eric Miltsch. This is episode 4. Our show is the equivalent of gathering around the old water cooler, coffee in hand, catching up on each other's weekends, discussing current events, along with topics such as love, life, and a little work. But let's not talk too much about that. You too will be able to join us. If you have something to say about our topic, share a relevant story, or ask questions, just drop in your request to join in the comments. And if we like you, and if you're up for it, we'll direct you a link to join us on video. We need your undivided attention if you do join, and we can cut you off at any time. You can ask us questions related to whatever we're discussing, no pitching, and you will likely be subjected to a question or two in return, maybe even a light roast, hence your Monday morning roast.
And no shop talk.
No shop talk, right.
With that, I will say, cheers, boys.
Cheers.
I've got my standard Grateful Dead mug.
Nice. Okay, so I'm getting to be, even though I only drink tea, I don't drink coffee. I've bought myself a few mugs just because of what we do here.
Branching out.
David, tell me about your weekend. How was your weekend, brother?
Great weekend. We had some really great weather. I took the top off the Jeep. That was fantastic. But yesterday, I went into the Chubby Bullfrog.
Chubby Frog, everybody.
And, he's really, really struggling to keep his business open. And every time, he's gotten these loans, but it just, this keeps on getting extended and it being putting restrictions on his business. And so he's really, really struggling. So I went there yesterday and we set up some lights and did an interview and allowed him to kind of get all this stuff off his chest. It was, I don't know, dare I say emotional. I mean, he's a good friend of mine and he's struggling bad to keep this dream alive. It's insane.
Are you telling me he's a good friend trying to make me feel jealous?
I want you to think, what, are you better than me?
Who is this guy? Do I have to beat his ass?
But all in all, it was a great weekend, great weather. And there's still a lot of preparing the house for the new life coming up. Coincidentally, last night I had a dream I was caught in a tornado. So I don't know what that means.
Are you pregnant, Dave? Because you mentioned a new life coming along. So chest burster or something?
You listening to a lot of Nico Case albums or something?
I'm not, no.
All right.
Maybe I should.
So, Bill, what'd you do this weekend, brother?
First off, I want to give a shout out to all the graduates out there. If you had a kid who graduated college or high school, congratulations, Memorial Day. So, hey, shout out to all the veterans. And I had a socially acceptable, or what's the word for, socially safe distance meeting with my family this weekend. So we had a cookout.
Acceptable.
And it was nice. Socially acceptable. Nobody was sacrificed.
My wife almost let me within the arm's reach of her.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, it was fun. It was good. My daughter's godfather came down, just kind of happened to be rolling through the neighborhood. So got to hang out with him for a while. And it was nice to be around my family because it's been something, normally every Sunday we get together. So it's just kind of weird for the last couple months to not have family get-togethers and stuff. So we all decided that we will take our chances and get together.
He's a Catholic. We get together on Sundays.
That's what you do.
Nice.
That's what you do.
Body of Christ. All right. So what about you, Eric? What'd you do? Anything special? How many
special at all.
How many series on Netflix did you wrap up?
A couple. I finished a really good one called White Lines. I really liked that one. It was good. It met my acceptable limit of of subtitles, only about 10% subtitles, so
White
I can handle that.
lines.
That was a really good show, though. Great song.
Through my mind.
You know what else I did? I had to turn in one of my cars to the dealership. Lease was up.
Really?
That was interesting.
How many
And,
7 cars do you have, Eric? High roller.
I can't count. But I had to go to this dealership.
He's the Jay Leno of automotive technology.
Interestingly enough, though, I tried to call the closest dealership, and nobody answered the phone. Not one. I tried multiple times, and then I went to another dealership, probably like 15 minutes away, and everybody was wearing a mask except one guy.
You.
And regardless of what your thoughts
Was his name Donald?
What's that?
Was his name Donald?
Regardless of who, of which side you're on for for your view on it. This is my point. This is the part that drove me nuts. If you're the business owner, wouldn't you want to at least appeal to every possible customer and have your staff wear it, regardless of what your thoughts are on the science of the whole issue? Yeah. So
you're saying he should wear it simply out of solidarity, but if you appeal to everybody, then you have people in masks, no masks, some masks,
no masks, right?
Pants,
Exactly.
no pants.
But but you're thinking about it wrong, Joe. The person that is
you're describing it wrong.
The person that is against wearing the mask, they're obviously going to come in not wearing the mask. They're not going to care if the other people are, because it's all about themselves. They don't care if somebody else is wearing it. They don't care.
Well, and the thing is it goes to show, though, too, like rules, right? Like it's a rule, but yet you have this guy walking around with no mask on because the rules don't matter. Then pretty soon people are going to walk in with like face piercings and all kinds of stuff that's in the manual that's not supposed to be going on.
Here's the thing that I did notice, though, and I'm sitting back. I was all by myself, sitting in the corner. We were just waiting for the lady to take care of the paperwork. So I noticed and the dealership was busy. It was great to see. Glad to see people out. They were selling cars. They sell.
Since he said, should I
the shop talk? We should kick Eric off.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about how busy the dealership was. Let's talk about your stupid car.
Get to the point.
Holy fuck.
Here's the thing. I saw several other people come in, and nobody went near this guy with the mask.
Without the mask.
He didn't have a mask on. Nobody else went near him.
But well, why would you? You don't know if he's asymptomatic, right? You don't know what he's got.
Mm-hmm. He could be like the guy who wants everybody else to get sick because he's angry and resentful that he has it.
Yeah.
But here's the most interesting part, though. There were a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of people there. They looked like they were a fully staffed store. Well, this guy, every time he went to the other employees that had masks on, they all walked away from him. But yet the people with the masks were at least, they were at least somewhat close together. But they wanted nothing to do with non-mask guy. I just thought it was interesting.
Interesting. So, Brent, tell me.
Thanks for dragging us through that.
Yeah, wow. That was really a short story about.
I would have just threw my keys and been like,
yeah, drive by.
So, Brent, tell me about your weekend.
I sat outside on the deck all weekend and drank coffee and listened to music. That's it.
Awesome.
Pretty solid.
Thanks for dragging us through that.
Thanks. We had the Irish Gypsy over yesterday for nachos. We had some social distancing nachos.
Nice.
She was like,
you guys are eating out of the same plate, it looked like, so,
Yeah, but you know what? She had housemates. Sinead had housemates that came back from Europe or something back in February when we all came back from NADA. And I know that talking to everybody that was in North Hall at NADA, everybody got effing sick really bad. And she got, so Sinead and I are both pretty sure that we both had it back in February, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and she did the thing back when she got sick. She isolated for probably almost 3 weeks, even though she didn't know, like, COVID wasn't yet a thing. She was just super sick with the flu. But her roommates that came back from Europe had it. And that was sort of before anyone was really screening. And like I said, I know that anyone that was in North Hall from NADA that was talking about it, everyone that came back from that show was sick.
Yeah.
That hung around in North Hall, like that worked in North Hall. If you were working in North
5G
Hall.
towers.
It could just be because your personality is so infectious. All right.
Oh, I thought my screen froze.
Yeah. No. That was just my emphasis. I was emphasizing the syllable
The weather was
I'm
awesome.
putting the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. All right.
Yep.
Once again, welcome to your Monday Morning Roast, episode 4. Joe Webb, Brent Wees, Eric Miltsch, Dave Hudson, Bill Playford. This is just a bunch of friends talking about life, love, a little work. You are able to join us, drop in comments if you like one of the topics we're talking about, and we're going to be talking about here in just a moment. You want to share a relevant story, you want to ask us some questions, we might ask you some questions, no pitching, and we might even give you a light roast, hence your Monday morning roast. So with that said, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my weekend, and I won't make it as lousy as Eric's. So as normal, did a lot of swimming, did a lot of movies. I surprisingly took the family out to eat in one of those places that has outdoor seating. There's nobody else around for 20 feet. And we ate outside, and that was a nice change of pace. We had a massive hailstorm. If you saw my Facebook thing, when I tell you hail was, I mean, I can't even do it with one finger. Hail was this big. My screens are jacked. I have a huge dent in my new car. I can't imagine, but it sent all the roofing ambulance chasers out. So my phone has been ringing off the hook. There's people getting into our gated community, walking up and down, knocking on doors, asking to give estimates for all that stuff. It is pathetic. And
we're like,
anybody get
hell no. Oh, hell no. Sorry.
Oh. But also, and then I had to spend 6 hours building what's known as a Rube Goldberg machine with my son, which is you take things from around the house and you do them together so a chain reaction happens, utilizing a wheel and axle, a pulley system, an inclined plane, all these different fake machines from upstairs to downstairs, dominoes. Do you know what it's like to set up 100 dominoes 150 times? It makes you want to kill yourself. So
it sounds like going to a dealership with Eric.
Exactly.
Yeah, or just listening to a story about Eric going to a dealership.
It sounds like that Jay Radke graph.
Yeah. Dunning the Ruth Bader.
The Dunder Mifflin graph or whatever that thing is.
So anyway,
Kruger.
one of the things I want to talk about and when I want to this section is I went to the DMV. I had to get something fixed with my registration and my insurance. So I go up on Thursday to the DMV, and there's a nice kid standing up front, and he says, sir, do you have an appointment? And I said, no, I do not. I didn't know you need one. He said, yeah, we're appointment only. So I said, okay. I went back into my car right there, got online. I booked an appointment for the next day. Took me 35 seconds. So the next day, like a good citizen, I come back, and the person driving in front of me into the lot is a big pickup truck. He's got a massive flag on it that has, I swear, the flag is promoting his upcoming candidate of choice with a blatant hate speech line on it. So he gets in first. I pull into a spot. He pulled into a spot. And he goes up. When I get up there, he's screaming, hooting and hollering at this poor kid, screaming that he can't be allowed in and he has to set an appointment. Screaming. Top of his lungs. And there's 8 or 9 other people there, and he's trying to sort of get them all in on it. And he's like, and I remember he's like, I should be able to walk on in. The government's trying to control my life. This is not America. This is not America. This is Chinese communist. And he's screaming at he's like, I bet you all of these people here agree with me that we should just walk on in. Finally, I had to speak up because I was furious. In like 30 seconds to listen to this clown, I was going to get into a little Donnybrook right there. And I chose, instead I said, you know what, if I can, I said, I will argue the other point. I came here yesterday. Kid told me it was appointment only. I went to my car in 30 seconds to make an appointment. Now I'm here for it. Can I please go in? Because I have an appointment. I said, it's not hard to follow the rules. And I was like, he's like, oh, you got an appointment? Like he has any say. And I walked in right past him, and I stopped the kid, and I said, I apologize. You shouldn't have to put up with this shit. And I just said it to the kid, because he shouldn't. It's a poor kid, 18, 19, 20, doing his job, keeping people out, following rules. And I even said, when I turned around, I said, it's not hard to follow the rules. You know, it's not difficult to set an appointment. So what I want to say is, like, I don't know if that's because this person was just dumb or people are growing morally ambiguous. But there's this concept of, I don't know if it's from Idiocracy, the movie Idiocracy, where people are turning dumber, or if it's the Purge and people just need to get out. Their evil is going to fully be exposed now. But Bill, you know about Idiocracy. We talk about this all the time. Talk to me about, if you haven't seen the movie, the premise behind it, and if you feel, are people getting dumber and why?
Okay, well, I don't know who all of the cast and crew were, but I'll say that the premise of the movie is that a just completely average, unremarkable soldier gets frozen, and then he gets resurrected or unthawed or whatever it is, way into the future. And during, what'd you say?
500 years.
500 years. Thanks, Eric. Just broad strokes here, Eric. Okay. So, and what happens in that period is that all the smart people stop reproducing, and all the dumb people reproduce exponentially. And so after 500 years of de-evolution, nobody knows how to do anything. And so they wear disposable clothing. Everybody drinks the equivalent of like Red Bull or Mountain Dew, thinking that it's as good as water. It's an absolute shit show of a movie. But it was really entertaining when it came out, and we kind of laughed. But now, after, I think the movie's like 13 years old or something like that, who knew how prophetic it actually would be? Because I believe that is the case. I think that most people I know who are extremely intelligent, with the exception of my family, because I have a big family, but for the most part, they have like one kid, if at all. They have a hard time reproducing, actually, in a lot of cases. People on the other end of the spectrum seem to have multiple children from multiple different partners. And I just think that it's, it could be what Joe is saying, like how morality is sort of sliding into a big gray area, or people are just getting dumber. So that's
so you're saying enough dumb people procreate, and you get dumber kids because they don't make as much money, because they have so many kids, they can't afford the nicest place with the best education, and kids turn out dumber, whereas the wealthy have one because they probably value their own time more, or they're too busy working, I don't know. And those kids get good educations, but several dumb kids outnumber one, and over the course of history, there's going to be a lot more dumb people. Do you think that's happening?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Just said so.
Yeah, just turn on the news right now. Like go look at in Toronto, for instance, first nice weekend of our year, really. And our biggest downtown park, Trinity Bellwoods, was just a sea of people. No masks, no distancing, no nothing. And it's just like this. And you see it all over the news, and everyone's like, well, they're going to take the risk. And they're like, it's just the short-sightedness, how quickly, I think people are getting dumber just because Lisa and I were talking about this yesterday. People just have short memories. Yeah. Right. They
just listen to one of my stories.
What's that?
Just listen to one of my stories. You can see it happening in real time.
Yeah, exactly.
What's funny about that interjection proved that point. Go ahead.
But it could be too, like, one of the things that seems to be really prevalent is no one reads past headlines anymore.
Yeah.
So everyone's got an opinion on what's going on and why they, Joe's story about that guy trying to rally everyone, like, you're taking away his right to walk into a building that clearly is closed and trying to keep people safe and do things like the appropriate way, but you're infringing on his rights. What rights do you have really when you think about what day is it today in the United States? It's Memorial Day, so everyone's social media is posting about all the sacrifices that all these people made, and yet we can't bring ourselves to sacrifice an inconvenience of convenience.
Yeah, but let me I want to add to that real quick, because Brent froze. But one thing that you think about, who the hell goes to the DMV and doesn't want to set an appointment? How much extra free time do you have to want to sit with a bunch of randoms? Like, seriously, I want to get in and get out as fast as possible.
Social assistance check from communist China.
In my county, it's the tax collector's office. It's one small building that handles everybody, and it was still about, I want to say, maybe 40% capacity inside. They had chairs blocked off that people could sit in, and I'm not stupid enough where I just want to sit next to anybody anyway, But I do think there's a level of because I think it's the media we consume. I think as I said, we're so stuck in one specific echo chamber. We're only hearing our news from, well, some people only hear the news from one source, and then their own friends and family. When's the last time you went to a library? I think book reading has probably gone down dramatically. Yep.
Library?
Yep. Library. I think book reading has gone down dramatically. I think, and it's not that audiobooks has taken over. I think it's, people are too busy consumed with that information and the videos on their phone. People that are into TikTok, like when I see grown men, people my age, middle-aged men, going like, like I want to reach through and headbutt their teeth back to the back of their throat. I just don't understand, like, who is this for? Who is this for? Do you look at this and be like, I think I could compete with this. This is for me. Like, I don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, it's easier than reading a book.
Yeah.
Bill, we've called it, Susan and I have often referred to it as Chiron telephone game. Where, and again, it doesn't matter if you're on the right or the left, or it doesn't matter if it's not a political thing. It's more about whatever news you're watching, and people get stuck in just, consuming the Chiron headline. Mm-hmm. And then what they do is they pull out what they like based on their own, or their own confirmation bias, and then they wind up repeating that, but it turns into a horrible game of Chiron telephone. And then they just say, oh, well, did you see this? And they make it fit their own narrative, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse. Then the friend of a friend of a friend that heard this horrible Chiron telephone sound bit, now it just gets torn apart, and that's we've always joked about that. That's what's contributing to that Idiocracy movement as well.
Is it more entertaining though to just read, like to Eric's point, to find that headline you like and then go on social media and read like a shit show of commentary with people arguing on Facebook or whatever? Is that more entertaining than actually going to a trusted news source? Again, regardless of what the news source is, I think more people go to the argument and just watch people bash it out. And how many of them have actually really done their homework? But it's more entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, so Dave, would you say on a daily basis, you more times say, wow, that's smart, that's really impressive when you hear something that somebody says, or do you say like, stupid, like I don't know why I talk to this person?
So listen, that's an interesting question. I don't typically watch the news at all. I'm not on Facebook that much. I see a lot of my friends arguing, and that's sad. These people that we grew up with, and we had...
You had a friend argue with your dad, right?
I did. Yeah, that was bad news. And, so all that, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm on the idea of it's important for people to be dumber in order for us to be more controlled. And I just think that it's a big, there's a lot of us on the planet. And everybody can't be, I don't know. I just feel it's more of a sheep mentality. It's easy for people to be sheep. I'm a sheep in many senses, right? But I try not to, that being said, I try not to look at that as much and get upset about it. And as far as, are people saying smart things or dumb things? I listen to a lot of, podcasts and stuff. So I'm hoping that I'm hearing smart things as opposed to dumb things. As far as the general public goes, when I do see what people are posting, I think it's sad and unfortunate. I don't know about dumb, I guess dumb, but it just seems too aggressive. It's sad. I mean, these friends that are starting to hate each other, families are starting to hate each other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess
talk that way to each other in real life, though. You know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't. Like,
what's that, Bill?
No, I was gonna say though, people wouldn't talk that way in real life, and I think that's the problem. Is that when we look at we read these exchanges, people literally would not say that to somebody's face. And I think maybe the last couple years has it gotten to the point, thanks to our leadership, that it's okay to say some of these things out loud without the fear of some sort of retribution.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. The internet has given people liquid courage. I'm bringing somebody in, Micah. We know him. I can't say we love him, but we know him.
Speaking of liquid courage.
Yep. So I'm sure he'll join because he's been given some good information in the comments.
There he is.
How you doing, Micah?
What's going on, my friends?
Yes, sir.
All right, so what were you just saying in the comments about British prison systems?
So I've been reading a lot of Neil Gaiman lately.
Great writer, love him.
He's blown my mind. I got into like the American Gods series and all that book, and then I just started like reading everything, and started realizing he's written and collaborated on a lot of things. But he was doing an interview when I think he won the Newbery Award for the Graveyard Book.
Yeah, good one.
Oh gosh! So basically, the Graveyard Book. Picture the Jungle Book. Instead of growing up in a jungle, the kid grows up in a graveyard and is raised by ghosts. It's just fun.
Raised by ghost bears.
It is pretty much. It is freaking hilarious. It's awesome. It's sad. But as he was getting his award for the Newbery Award or whatever, he was talking about the necessity of libraries and how he grew up in a library because it was like free daycare. So his dad dropped it off, but it wasn't free daycare. But he just had so much fun. And in that speech that he gave, he had found out that the British prison systems based capacity necessities in 15 to 25 year segments based upon the literary levels of 10 and 11 year olds.
Really?
So they could accurately project the necessity or the space that they needed, the food, the budgets, all that they needed based upon how well 10 and 11 year olds could read. So his whole point was read. Find whatever kids like to read, encourage read, get them safe places to read. Don't ever tell them don't read those types of books because they're bad or not good for you. Just read. And
Micah, would you agree though that people should be reading a diversity of things though, instead of just reading like one thing? Should they read like a cross section of things just to make sure that they're not getting biased in one way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like somebody who's only grown up reading like Judy Blume is all of a sudden like, oh my God, mind-blowingly smart.
Well, he actually addressed that as well in such a way that find for children, and once again, just as starting with children, then moving forward, find them something that they like to read and encourage them reading anything.
Make sure that they're not.
Okay. And then take that and then allow them to find what they truly, branch out. But I don't think social media posts counts as reading.
No.
At all. And I don't think that I think that there are probably some really great authors and writers on social media, but they're not the ones that are getting the attention. And they know that the social media is not a medium for what they're writing. It is a medium for them to advertise what they're writing about.
Brent grew up reading Star Wars, so that's...
Oh my God, I did all day long.
Yeah.
Not at all. The complete works of Judy Blume. She also grew up in a great...
Listen, is there a very popular, what is it, Degrassi High? Is there some popular, Canadian themed book series that everybody in your generation read?
I think you've got Margaret Atwood in Handmaid's Tale. Margaret wrote, Margaret Atwood and Farley Mowat are the two big Canadian authors that in school, all through school, you read their works. And it was all Canadian. There's tons. They're not the only two, but those are the two that come up right away. I remember going through school and through English class, those are the authors that you were asked to.
The sad part is some of the books that we were asked to read when I was a kid, I remember reading Handmaid's Tale when I was in school, and it is not really school-based material. I remember reading Lord of the Flies, and still my son's 14, and I question whether or not to let him read Lord of the Flies, because I think it shows a level of, it's just a tougher world, and I think as parents, maybe I'm harming it. I'm very overprotective. I'm trying to protect them from the atrocities of the outside world, because the terrible stuff. I turned on the news for literally 1.5 minutes the other day, 1.5 minutes as I was getting ready to have movie night, and it says 9-year-old Florida, or a mom and her son leaving.
9-year-old Florida man.
No, a mom and a son leaving a grocery store in Florida, put her kid in the car, started driving, got smashed into the car. 2 guys got out, took her nonverbal, autistic 9-year-old son, kidnapped him, and they found him 48 hours later, dead in a ditch or something, or in a lake. And that is in 1.5 minutes the type of news that is on that my 14-year-old and 9-year-old got had to hear about. I don't remember that stuff when I was a kid. Like I don't remember it.
Well, it's
Could
lobbyist-based news.
But could you say that the fact that at age 14 and or younger, reading stories such as The Lord of the Flies, you understood that there was a part of humanity that was evil, that left to its own devices, and Lord of the Flies is a great example of that. And the atrocities that man, even in a micro civilization as that island was, they could do horrible things. So do you think that by you having that plan to the back of your head, the atrocities that are capable, you can deal with and or understand how to disseminate that from news and how to take from that any type of value, whereas your children, or my children for that matter, that are not reading books at that level, are now like, oh, this is just life, but they don't realize through literature how evil that could actually be.
And well, what's interesting is they always said, the writer of Lord of the Flies, I forget his name, because I was just reading about this, based it on another instance where a bunch of kids on the island stole a boat and got swept away. They ended up on an island, I think it was 9 kids or maybe 14 kids, stole a boat. They were on an island for something along the lines of 3 years before they were found. And one of them essentially became the de facto leader of the group. But there was no fights, no anything, no arguments. They made a pact. The moment they got there, there's not going to be any fights. There's not going to be any arguments. If there are, you walk away and you come back, and it's squashed immediately. And regular kids survived for 3 years. 3 years, and it's a true story with no evil. So hey, Micah, first of all, I want to appreciate you coming. I know you've been a great addition every single time I see your comments. I'm glad we were able to bring you on. Anybody want to give Micah a light roast? Because Eric, you know Micah better than most of us, I think.
I don't know if that's fair.
I mean, here, listen. I've already teased them that, like Duck Dynasty called, they want their look back. And
where to start though? Where to start, Micah? Where do I start?
I like Micah. I consider him a friend, regardless how much he's got the look of like the Jesus Christ look going on. He's just like Jesus Christ, but with 0 followers.
He's just like Jesus Christ, except with 7 wives.
Zero followers whatsoever. Nobody wants to hear what he says, but it's but just.
Well, he certainly has a bunch of kids, so we can already make assumptions right
He's
there.
He's definitely filling an arc.
Yeah. Excellent. No, but
everything in Minnesota.
It's like Canada Light.
Yeah.
Has the snow melted out there, Micah?
Yeah, just barely.
Yeah, just enough for him to do some more shirtless yoga in it.
No. He actually ties his shirts in the front, like in 1980s, like Sarah Jessica Parker in a workout video.
I'm gonna send him a bunch of those like heavy like mesh, like with the big mesh holes and then like the spray painted number on it, like the half shirt.
Yep, and some leg warmers.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
A football penny,
and some roller skates.
Listen,
it is good to see you though, Micah. I'm glad to see your sunroom business is booming.
Thank you.
Go water a plant, will you?
Exactly.
Yeah, nobody.
Those cannabis leaves behind you, or those?
All right, hey, Micah, thank you so much.
What are you drinking, Micah?
This is sparkling hop tea. It's hop infused green tea.
Stop right there.
Just stop.
Stop plugging your affiliate link.
Solitaire. I mean, as soon as I heard like hop infused, listen to that.
Thank you, Micah. Mike is a good sport, though.
Micah's great.
Oh, he's a great. Yeah. Micah's a great sport. He knew what he was getting into when he
opted into this.
Yeah. If I can though, Eric, he had mentioned Lord of the Flies is a good way to show about evil, and I think like you look at the movie The Purge, and The Purge. Here, explain The Purge, and because this is sort of your topic where you said I want to talk about how you can tell when people are bad. So go.
That's a simple test. It's all it is. Do you return your shopping cart to the cradle?
See,
that's it.
Like I said, Bill is going to yell at me for this because now it sounds like I'm evil. What I'm going to tell you is I'm evil.
Fuck you already. Okay, just skip it out.
He knows because every now and then, I always return my cart. But every now and then, I wouldn't say half the time, I'd say 1 out of every 6 times, I return the cart backwards.
That's not evil. That's gold.
Now listen, you cannot easily at all push carts together in a cart corral if one of them is backwards. And I just think it's fun for me knowing that somebody gets to be outside a little longer to do that. So
Some pimply faced kid, just miserable, just mother effing you.
He's having the best day ever until 4:15, and he goes out in some cheese wrapper laden backwards cart. Wrecks his whole day.
I just want to. I just like knowing that they're thinking. I mean, who the hell? I mean, like I know it's something
I've never heard
that
that
most
before,
people
Joe. That's great.
most people have never seen before. You're like, what the hell? Like, it's not supposed to be like this at all. Like,
Yeah.
I just
Start a
like
trend. They're all like fumbling around trying to get it.
Brent pushes his into the cart and then tips the cart over on its side. So now the kid has
Right
to
in the middle of
pick
the
it up.
lane where the cars have to drive up and down. They just,
I just let mine go and
I go-
see what
I
happens.
go Grussel doucher. You know that one.
Yeah.
But Dave, you let yours go down the middle of the entire aisle,
I just go like this, and I watch what happens.
Let it go.
and if it hits somebody's car, so be it.
This is fucked up. They shouldn't have been parked there.
I just take carts and leave them in aisles and then go back and get other carts and leave them in other aisles. By the time I leave, I've got carts in all the aisles that are just one thing in each cart.
Exactly.
I actually like to collect all the carts and bring them back for the guy.
Just cheese.
Of
and
course you
ice.
do.
I go in, I take all the carts out of the store and I bring them back and I stack them forward, backward, forward, backward, forward, backward in every single cart.
I throw all the carts through the window and then set the grocery store on fire.
Yeah. Please post this on Instagram though. Your most elaborate scheme of your cart parking, or if you want to call it cart putting away, and just
Cart
tag it.
parking. That's what Bill
Cart
calls his alone time.
I like to put my coronavirus in as many carts as I can.
Exactly.
But that's my
Where you go,
indicator,
Barrett?
Joe.
What's that?
Joe, that's my indicator. That's a simple gauge. But to the bigger picture, like we were talking before, just with everything going on, I forget it was you or Bill. Somebody mentioned about the liquid muscles or whatever you want to call it. Your
Liquid courage.
liquid courage, whatever.
Like beer doggies.
Liquid
kind of.
muscles.
But the ability to our newfound ability to be so brazen and forthcoming online. Bill, I challenge that. I bet you, because of everything everybody's been going through with the lockdown, I've already witnessed it. And I'm sure you guys have too. Just out in public, out in the stores, people will say shit now to everybody. They don't care. I think people are frustrated. People are anxious. People are going nuts.
No, they did this before. Listen, people have been turning evil before the lockdown. I mean, I really think
I think this is speeding it up. That's my point.
We are more we're more divisive as a world than ever before. Like, we are willing to say, and I think people are willing to be more, not just morally ambiguous, but more outspoken, more disgusting, more hate-filled, vitriolic than we ever have before. I think, and I think social media, like the one nice thing about, I was a journalism major in school, is that you only had
La-di-da.
No. I want to say you only had like educators for the most part of some sort, putting out information, like writing books and writing articles and sharing information and stories. And now the internet has given every single person a voice, regardless of education level, regardless of how hate-filled they are. You now have a megaphone at your disposal to spew as much garbage, as much misinformation as humanly possible. Sometimes in an effort, like, if you look at just what a troll is, they just try to anger people. Like, and listen, I know, I troll my wife all the time. I said something to my wife yesterday, and she got so mad. She's like, "Why'd you say that?" I'm like, "To get you mad," because I'm a psychopath. But I mean, admittedly, I think people are more willing to be horrible towards each other.
It's both sides, though. I think it's both sides.
It definitely is.
I look at this as like going to the zoo and watching monkeys throw shit at each other from a long distance. They're not, and the minute anybody on, like I said, either side, they get loud, they get mean, but the minute you try to challenge them with facts, then it's just like, okay, now they're all butthurt and they're like, well, hey, you're a troll. or you're whatever. And I think like, hey, look, if you're gonna put it out there, you should be willing to have it stepped on in a lot of degrees. Like I think that's where things I think have changed, is that people have gotten louder, but people don't challenge the fact. You know, they don't,
like trying to put your shopping cart away backwards.
What'd you say?
I will paraphrase or change what the famous Mike Tyson quote, where Mike Tyson said, like, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, like, everybody's got a wrong opinion until they get punched in the face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I mean, sometimes it takes somebody getting their ass kicked, whether it's physically and or verbally. But I think maybe one thing that upsets is, as Eric mentioned, confirmation bias earlier. Like, you want to believe something so much, it doesn't matter if you are presented hard factual evidence to the contrary, you are going to say that's wrong. So I mean, I just saw something somebody posted the other day that says, like, why did this get taken down? No, this is a hoax and blah blah blah. They said who is fact checking all these fact checkers? I'm like, well, at one point there's got to be a ceiling, right? At one point there's got to be somebody that's like, okay, who does say what real is? Like, nowadays it seems like 2 + 2 = 5 if you want it to be so enough.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree with that.
And no one's going to tell me different because this is America, I'm free, and the government's stopping me from getting DMV. Like, I just don't understand why people are willing to be more evil. Is it video games? Is it the information they consume? Is it the evil comments? I just don't. Is it?
It's easy. It's easier. It's easier to be that way.
You know, like, I love Schadenfreude. That's funny to me. It's, you know, taking misery or, you know, finding humor in other people's misery. Schadenfreude, like the famous Mel Brooks quote, which is tragedy. Oh no, yeah, comedy is you falling down a well and dying. Tragedy is me getting a paper cut on my finger.
I like how all of Joe's friends on Facebook are from the deep south.
What? Oh yeah, just
the accent.
No, that's just the same guy.
It's his Alabama accent that he's doing right now. I know. But no, like I said, I think it's so much easier, at least for our own well-being, to fall into that social that confirmation bias, though, because like nobody wants to be told they're wrong, nobody wants to be challenged, and so by finding and like literally seeking places to whereas you feel like you're comfortable and you can say the most outlandish things, you just keep getting sucked deeper and deeper and deeper into that. And so when somebody challenges you, unfollow. Now I don't have to hear that voice anymore. That could be like my conscience calling. It's just more and more and more of the same.
Here's a simple solution, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
If people were just a little bit more self-aware and not trying to make it all about themselves, just stop sharing your opinions about easily challenged facts in the first place, and take a step back and try just complimenting somebody else, or even, I know it's hard to do, but just tell somebody else they're right for a change. Oh yeah, you know what, that's great. You don't have to believe it. Not everything has to be an argument.
Oh, I'm married. I've learned how to say I'm wrong to things I've 100% know I'm right about all the time.
I'll just put it into a sentence as I'm talking. It's like, oh, hey, let's go have lunch. I'm wrong. Let's. I know we're gonna enjoy it. Just throw it out there. Just proactively admit.
What do you think in Chili's? Stupid idea. Stupid idea. You pick it.
But you know the old trick. The trick is, you ask your significant other, where they want to go. Pick a place.
Oh, you've heard this.
Yeah. And the first place they name, you're like, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. You know where I was going to take you? It's a place you love.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to take me to Olive Garden. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, well, you're good. I don't feel like Olive Garden.
It's like going to the DMV right there. Same amount of time wasted.
Brent,
what do you
well
think?
done on your captions there.
The thing is, you talk about that guy at the DMV, and he obviously is mistreating that dude. But you said already? You knew that he had some hate speech on his.
Yeah, I don't even feel comfortable enough saying. Well, you guys know because I.
Yeah, don't say it.
It's bad. Don't say it.
But knowing that is somebody who obviously lives close enough in my area to write that, I guess, I'm supposed to be like, who are you trying to? I recognize now that people are like we can't change anybody's mind. I can't change. I've got hardcore people who believe the opposite of me in my own family. That because I want to maintain good relationships, I no longer am friends with them on social media. These are some of my closest relatives.
Well, why do we feel the need to change someone's opinion? That's the part that I just
see that's exactly
futile. It's futile. Why does everybody take it upon themselves to think it's my job? I have to change the way Dave thinks about his brick wall. You know, I just
motherfucker you.
But here's the thing.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, right? Though I think some things deserve to be challenged. You know, like I said, I think there's some things we have to accept to be true. Like this whole notion of freedom, because I love this. I don't want to get off on a tangent, but like we opt into freedom.
We've got the time.
You murder your neighbor. You can't go, go steal their dog or whatever. Like there are some things, like there's a contract we sign when we're born in this country or Brent's country, any other country. Like you have to abide by a certain set of rules. Okay.
It's a privilege though. It's not a right.
No, but it is. It's not any of those things. It is. You're born into that. And so we have to accept certain things as being true. Like 2 + 2 is 4. Like things of that nature. And like I said, that's what gets me. It's like some people, especially with math, which just kills me when they're putting stuff on there. Where it's like, okay, you said it's 0.03%. It's actually 2.4% if you do the math correctly. What the hell's wrong with you? Did you not just take a second to like actually check that yourself before you threw it out there?
That's fine. That's fine, Bill. I completely agree with you on that. But there's other things where more of. There's other topics that you just why it's a matter of picking your battles. When you're talking about a scientific mathematical thing, a little bit easier. If you're going to ignore the science and the math, then But on that point as well, everybody's in this frame of mind right now where they're arguing. Well, I don't like this scientist, or I don't believe what that scientist does. And again,
tribe mentality.
But here's the interesting thing. I don't know if anybody caught this. Neil deGrasse Tyson the other day was, and he said it millions of times, but I saw the video again where he just simply said, even amongst the scientific community, they don't ever take just one scientist view. They take thousands of scientists.
That's
views,
it.
Put them all together. And then from there. So even they think it's irresponsible. Someone like Tyson or any of these other famous people, they're looking at a population of thousands, 500, 1,000, 2,000 type of types like that and they look at it all together. So it's just a different.
No, that's
view.
a good point though, because that's one of those situations where maybe if you see something that you want to share or you want to get into a discussion, maybe you should do a little research. Maybe just check a couple different sources. Earlier we were talking about having just one news source that you trust. And maybe it's just something where we make a little bit of a nudge, a little bit of a habit changer where we look at one thing, might look outlandish. Maybe you want to check a couple different other news sources just to make sure it's true. Like great instance, like when a celebrity dies, do you want to, get out there just like, oh my God, Abe Vigoda died. I always want to make sure that it's legit
don't you break my heart with Abe Vigoda, Bill.
But like if Betty White died, knock on wood.
That she dies?
She's gonna die today.
Yeah. What are you trying to say, Bill? Woman's an icon.
Yeah, she better not, because I've got Louis Gossett Jr. in the death poll. Okay. Come on, Louis Gossett Jr. You owe me.
But that's one thing we could all change though, right? Instead of reading the headline, instead of keying in that one keyword that just triggers us or whatever, we should make it a habit just to double check. Like, hey, let's maybe instead of just listening to Fox News verbatim, just spew at me. Maybe I'll check it against CNN. Maybe I'll check it against New York Times.
It's both sides.
Both sides.
Yeah, well, it definitely is. But here's how I feel about that is that's what everybody's talking about. And I don't see anybody talking about, deeper things that really, And so now we're finding this side because it feels good to fight, right? We get these chemical rushes, and now we're addicted to that particular chemical rush. We're not talking about, deeper things. I mean, listen, the fact of the matter is, in one day, right, I'm going to die, and that's it. And I don't know when that is, and I don't have a lot of time. The trouble is, I think I have the time, and I'm going to get myself all worked up and fight with people. That's too much. But we're so used to this train of fighting with one another.
How does that go
now we have this tribe mentality.
How does that go again?
Well, I think to what Dave's saying and what everyone's shared, when you look at what people put on these walls, there's when it's something that matters to them and they go out with that really strong opinion and they hit it really hard without the what are your thoughts to finish the statement. I think a lot of that has underlying, and we all do it, and we all had moments of doing it. I think there's an underlying of insecurity that's there, that if they put something up, they know they're going to get enough of their audience or their peer network to go, you're right. You know what? I agree with you. And that makes them feel, it gives them that comfort of going, I'm not the only one that's maybe scared of this or frightened of this, right? And you see it now with how people are posting about what are their rights and what aren't their rights. Mm-hmm. And you get on both sides of the border. People put stuff out there because inherently there's something in their statement, there's something in what they post about that they have some fear, there's some fear based in there. And if enough of their friends group go, no, you're right, you're okay, then that's soothing to them.
Or some.
But no one's actually, to Eric's point, going, hey, let's open this up for discussion and dig into it a little bit, because no one really wants to fucking talk about their feelings. It's terrifying. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to post and babble and fight and headline scan, and we'll leave it at that because that's a safer road. It's an easier.
Yeah, that goes to Dave's point as well, though. We're all dying. You know, let's build each other up too. You know what I mean?
This is the happiest fucking podcast ever.
Well, listen, I know this. You guys are always want to talk about this side, that side, and all this stuff that's going on.
Talk about music or other stuff. We've been kind of on dumb people.
Well, listen, we certainly can. That's right. We should.
Well, last time I mentioned talking about movies, you prick, I had mentioned one thing about Star Wars, and you literally gave yourself a barium enema just to get out of the conversation. So,
and I'll do it again.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I did watch a movie here recently that I really liked. I've seen.
Hey, welcome everybody back to the Monday Morning Movie Podcast.
Listen, he's like, okay, then let's talk about more of this, as we said, vitriol. Let's not talk about music. Let's talk about movies. Let's continue that.
Well, here, let me ask you this. Maybe we can combine the two really quickly. Have you gone? We've probably all gone to a concert with a mosh pit, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's a certain type of person that wants to throw themselves in the mosh pit to try it out, and there's a certain type of person that wants to throw in the mosh pit to actually inflict physical harm on people.
Right.
And yet they both like the music. I'm going to bring somebody on really quickly here because he's been weighing in on there. If anybody knows Belko, and I've been on his podcast before as well. He's a good Chicago guy. But I know he was weighing in a little bit on how people are evil and or morally ambiguous. Belko, you got to share your video about it. Here we go.
This will be the fastest guest ever.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing.
There
he is.
What's going on, gentlemen?
How you doing,
Belko? Hey, you got your gloves on?
Yeah, I'm wearing gloves with everything that I do.
Not right now, you're not.
Tilt your webcam up. I want to see the pictures behind you.
They're a Belko.
This is
portraits.
This is the best Cubs player for. I don't know if you guys recognize.
Rusty Scott.
It's supposed to be Chris Bryant.
Yeah, you don't think it looks like him?
No, it looks like the guy who played Captain America.
He might be Chris Evans. He might be.
Yeah, this one is for sale now.
Yeah.
Somebody buy.
Did you paint them?
No,
but
man.
You take returnable beer bottles for payment.
Who is that guy? Is that Messi?
No, that's Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
It's Messi, all right.
That's Ibrahimovic.
Nice.
He played for the LA. He's a soccer player.
He plays soccer, Joe. Soccer guy.
Diver. He plays for who?
The Strovia.
He actually played for LA Galaxy. No,
So let me ask you: do you think people are turning more evil? Do you think or do you think people are being better and kinder to each other nowadays, Belko?
You know, a lot of people are saying the thing about money, how money magnifies people. I think that critical situations and panic situations like this, when people are outside of their comfort zone, really magnifies who they are. kind of like the same. I use the same analogy. So I think the truth is coming on the surface with a lot of people. A lot of folks that we had some. One thing that I noticed with COVID-19 is all those fake, success gurus kind of went away within a week of time. Their budget ran out in a week of time. So people stopped flashing their Lambos and money and make money today and do that.
Except for Grant Cardone.
Well, he made it. He made a point of liabilities turning into assets and assets turning into liabilities. So he fired his whole marketing team on the very next day.
Yeah, that's an ass move.
Yeah, that was. It was kind of like if you've read the 10X, it's like, hey, is that coming from the same author? I thought we were supposed to step on the gas right now and not lower the intensity, but up the action, right?
10X firing people. That's what you do. You don't fire two, you fire the whole damn team.
That's right. You got to wrestle through all those firings.
People were going over the office asking, "Who's got my money, Grant? Who's got my money?"
Grant had it. Grant's got it. He doesn't want to pay anybody.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just showed their true colors, and I think that was a necessary thing. So for people to come out of the comfort zone.
I think, and not to go political, I think people have been showing their true colors for probably about 10 to 11 years now.
Cyndi Lauper's been doing it since the 80s.
But social media is exposing social media is exposing people. There's one thing that I really talk about. It's social media etiquette, on what you're supposed to do on social media and what you're not supposed to do.
We talked about that 2 weeks ago. So you can't talk about it now. You got to talk about what we're talking about.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
What are you guys talking about?
Listener.
You're talking about
people becoming evil,
right?
Not about people becoming better at etiquette and social media. We covered it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay. So you're talking about rights and privileges, right?
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You can go that way.
So I think that because of the way America was founded, people really talk about the rights here and what they're supposed to do. In other countries that have much longer history, people don't have as many rights. People don't talk about their rights as much as they talk around here. And I jumped in the comments when you corrected that those are not rights, those are privileges, and we get to follow those rules. And rules, are meant to be broken by some, and they get excited when they break the rules. Some people
I actually think that people are confusing freedom with the idea that there's no such thing as rules. Like they're
exactly.
No, we live in a free country. And I'm sorry I keep doing that voice because it's still fresh in my mind from Thursday, but I think people have this idea where freedom means they can do whatever they want. And that's not the truth. Even in no country is based within anarchy. There's still fundamental rules they have to follow. And I'm not just saying moral code, but like legal rules. So when people say, and we had this conversation before, when people say, oh no, this is America, I'm free, I can do whatever I want. No. If an organization says they're appointment only, guess what?
And that's a great point. That's a great point, Joe, because a lot of countries have failed at democracy. And it's because they don't know how to manage that particular, they don't know how to manage freedom. And when everybody's free to do whatever they want, then we're going to turn into chaos. There's no organization. So that explains why communism came along, why socialism came along, and all those, dictators, because things were going out of control. So they needed somebody to come up with strong rules, privileges, and people were supposed to follow direction that would save them.
Belko, when did you move to America? I mean, was it after Rocky Balboa beat you in number 4? When did you move to America?
Oh, Ivan Drago, I will break you.
Here you go.
By the way, I have this accent.
Excuse me, I must break you.
Right, I must break you. You're right. I moved to America 20 years ago, and I came from a country that was just exploring democracy. So I can tell you, that I can tell you, Bulgaria. Yeah. So Bulgaria was just exploring democracy. It was like 10 years into democracy, and things were going out of control. Everybody thought they have, the right to do whatever they want to. They made their own laws. They made their own rules. There was no police, no laws, and everybody was doing whatever they want to. And now the country has no organization. So freedom leads to, when it's unorganized, leads to chaos. So that's my opinion.
Well, anybody wanna say goodbye to Belko in our type of way?
No, I don't want to say goodbye to him.
Yeah, make sure you leave a link to your masterclass painting.
Yeah,
series.
exactly. Painting your sports here.
You guys
Mixing the Avengers with sports people. Painting with Belko.
It's too random. First of all, I'm a Cubs fan, but it's just two random pictures, but they're not even. So like if you go to the if he aims it to the other side, it's Mary Lou Retton or something, or Bella. It's like random people like.
I think something's wrong on your end, Joe.
I think something's not
You're not seeing it right.
It's just 'cause
You're right
show's
about
like this. Joe. That's the problem.
They look even to me. I think something's definitely wrong on your end.
Belko was just one girl.
It's not the way.
Belko just wanted to show off his pipes there because all he does is bicep workouts. He doesn't actually do anything else.
It's like, my paintings are.
Look at these biceps.
I honestly thought both of those.
Guy's got a chest of a 14-year-old girl, though.
I actually thought both of those paintings were Velcro
Hey, I do more
in
push-ups
different
than
uniforms.
anyone
You do more push-ups than anybody?
here on this.
In that house.
Conversation.
Dave is swole. I don't know about that.
Not more than me.
Listen, I eat more push pops than anybody.
Listen, chubby bullfrog, push up, throw down. I feel it. I feel it.
It's not like
I honestly thought.
Thanks, Belko.
I honestly thought both of those paintings were Velcro, just in different sports.
Yeah,
uniforms.
if Belko was a sports
I
athlete.
thought they were self-portraits
different stages of his transition.
from a Cubs fan to a soccer fan.
So like, listen, Dave goes live on Facebook all the time when he's at his shows or whatever whenever he's playing music. So I usually will watch him for a little bit, and I try to do something, and I just hope he starts reading what I wrote before he starts singing, so it makes it more difficult for him to start singing.
Well, you see, I laugh all the time at it. In the middle of a song, I see it come through.
So what I will say is that if we're talking about people that are good and people that are bad, the five of us know that deep down, listen, we probably come off as assholes, and I'd say when we want to be, we're probably better assholes than most other people could ever even imagine.
Sure.
With that said, deep down, I think we all care about not just each other, but about the right way to do things and the right people, and I think we care. Not many people I know care more than Dave does. Dave is a very supportive friend. He's a very emotional, sensitive guy. Dave and I have absolutely cried on each other's shoulders. That's how I know that he and I are, are besties, so to speak. So, but I will say there is an ability. If you watch Dave sing, he's very sort of complimentary to every single person that approaches him. I mean,
What do you mean? Like while he's singing, he pays people compliments, or?
Yes, yeah. He'd be like, wasting away again in Margaritaville, nice dress. No, that's
Your teeth are nice.
Pencil.
You got a pretty mouth.
that's not at all. That's what he says, but not to that song.
You don't do Margaritaville, though, do you, David?
I don't actually.
Good. Don't. Ever.
Have you ever?
If you do, I will find you and I will smash guitar over your head.
Animal House.
Thank you.
Animal House.
Nobody's like, Brent, you used to be.
Hey, my love, a cherry.
Brent, you used to be in a punk band, right?
Yeah, way back.
Was that when? Talk to me about
Years ago.
punk music really quick. Like, is punk music just against the system, or is it like against freedom? Like, for freedom? Like, talk.
I don't know. If you look at the different scenes, especially like the American hardcore scene, that sort of grew out of when Reagan was president, and there was and I think there was a lot of kids. And it's interesting because I think every kid that was in a major band from like Ian MacKaye and Henry Rollins to Jim from Pennywise, like on the West Coast, I think kids were just disenfranchised with what was going on in society. And I know for a fact that a lot of the punk scene that grew out of like the Reagan era was based on that. Like America was just looking forward to getting back to like 1950s America, and this, you know, Ron's going to bring us all back to like good, clean, wholesome this and that. And I just think there was a lot of kids that just didn't understand that at all, and we're trying to grow and create their own voice. I don't know if it's necessarily completely anti-establishment, because I think there's a lot of punk bands that just talk about to what we were talking about today. Just cover read everything you can. You know, Rollins said it best. Like, you know, just be smarter than your parents. You know, don't just be indoctrinated into whatever family you have and eat that, you know, propaganda that they're serving you all day long. Like I know growing up with my old man, my dad had certain views of things, and it was my job. Someone's got a call. Dave, call.
Yeah,
So I think that it's just, I think the smarter, like the Strummers and the Rollins and you know, certain people, they're more about just educate yourself enough that you get a more complete worldview, and then you're going to start seeing that there's some pretty shitty stuff out there that isn't necessarily good for anybody, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on in any country. So I think that's what like real punk rock kind of grew out of is because some of the people that started those scenes, man, are just some of the brightest people, some of the most well-read people, and society looks at them as a bunch of dregs and stuff. It's like they read voraciously, they understand. They have just a greater worldview. Their level of understanding politics is just, it's astounding. And
well, I think you hit something right there, Brent, too, especially with like when you listen to Rollins, especially now as like old man Rollins, you know, he talks about his international travels and how much that informs his, you know, his opinion on things. And I think Anthony Bourdain was the same way. Like, you know, both, you know, just an immense perspective. And I think to me, when I look at guys like that, it's about growth. You know, it's not so much being stuck in your ideas, but you're constantly challenging yourself with different situations to learn more and to get a better sense of empathy that you can have, you know. So yelling and screaming, but and
you go back too, because even like Strummer's parents, like Joe Strummer's dad was in the English service somehow, and he tried, like he lived in Egypt and all of these other places. And I think that, to your point, Bill, I think that if you stay inside your own borders just because you're scared of what's out there, it's like what we talked about before. Like, go away, like go travel, go be in other places, go get an actual worldview, and it allows you to having a more open mind to your friends' commentary and your own, right?
Yeah, I mean, and really quickly. So, Bill, have you taken the kids out anywhere internationally yet? I mean, they're young.
Yeah, not yet. It's a small fortune to do it, but we're gonna we've been planning to go to Montreal. We're just kind of waiting for number 4 to get a little bit older so we can road trip that. But like, instead of doing Disney another time, we'll probably go to Rome or someplace like that. That's something. That's one of my goals in life, is to just expose our kids to different things. Like, we road trip like crazy. We've already seen a ton of the United States with the kids. We try to show them different things. We take some of the back roads to see other neighborhoods and just try to have them get a sense about how just wildly diverse our country is.
The downside is they're looking at their
crucial,
not outside. They're looking at their screens and not outside the window. Yeah. And therein lies the problem. But with that said, like, agreed. The only reason I haven't probably taken my kids too much international, I mean, we've done Caribbean and Mexico and like those things, but the reason we've gone West Coast, East Coast, you know, throughout the United States. I haven't taken them internationally because I don't think they'd appreciate it yet. I don't think a 14-year-old and 9-year-old appreciate the sheer beauty of like a France and the history of an England or anything for that matter. So as much as I'd like to, I think, and Rome is on my own bucket list. I've never gone to Vatican City I just don't think taking them, they'd appreciate it for that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wait until they're a little older to do it.
But I think it's still
part of it though, because Maggie was in Rome last summer, right? Maggie and her mom went to Rome last summer.
But she's 15.
Yeah, but there's parts of it that she, you know what I mean? She's like, oh my God, we walked so much. And it's just because it's like, you know, you're doing a lot of trekking, but she talked about like the food and the coffee she had and just the different experiences she had. You know, when she kind of digs in past like, oh, there was a lot of walking, there was a lot she came back with. And she was supposed to be in Europe this month in 5 countries. She was supposed to go to Czech Republic and Amsterdam. She was going to go to Poland. She was going to actually see Auschwitz. And there's always allied ceremonies over in Europe this time of year. and they bring a lot of students over. I think from the States too, but a lot of Canadian students will go over and jointly share in these allied celebrations of what happened in Europe. So she, like, COVID killed that, but yeah, she was supposed to hit 5 countries in 10 days. My partner was to go to Anne Frank House and Auschwitz and see all that stuff.
Auschwitz is a little heavy for a 15-year-old. I mean,
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. My grandfather was part of the forces that, like, were on D-Day invasions, and I learned all about what that was. Like, he liberated concentration camps. He told me all about that long before I was a teenager. Like, I was given a major education in what went on and what went down in World War II, the actual facts. And my parents were really good that way too. Like, we watched things, and my parents were really adamant about, you need to understand this stuff. I remember even before being a teen watching The Deer Hunter with my mom to understand.
Classic. Listen.
TV50 in Detroit showed it uncensored.
Yeah,
way back in the day, so people understood what happened to soldiers that were there. So my whole family's been heavy on military education. And
I was watching R-rated horrible movies starting at the age of like 7 or 8. And I remember them distinctly, where my kids have barely seen it. And maybe it's different because both my kids are on the spectrum. So I think they engage with things a little bit different.
Sure.
They might not realize the gravity of it. And if they do, it would be too scary for them in some ways. But yeah, I don't know.
I think everybody should go there. I know, like, I even remember Radke, because Radke was over there, and Radke was talking about going to Auschwitz. And I think everybody should do that, because it's everything we talked about today. Everybody is so fucking bent out about making sure they can go and have a fucking drink somewhere and go not wear a mask or do something else. And everyone's bitching about this. People on Memorial Day of all days, or Remembrance Day, people should travel over there. People should go visit Anne Frank House. People should go to Auschwitz. People should go to the D-Day landing spots and understand how fucking horrible that was and how fucking easy we have it. We have it so good. We have it so fucking soft. We are so babied here, and we've become helicopter parents, as Joe said. There's fucking not a tough bone in anybody's body. And yeah, so happy Memorial Day, everybody. Go yell at some fucking kid working at the DMV because your rights are infringed, because you have to make a fucking appointment and stand 2 meters from something. Like, eat a fucking D. There you go.
Yeah. Hey, eat a fucking D. Okay, don't just okay. So that takes it back. But that brings it back to what we were talking about before, though. I think that is that perspective, though. I think if people had seen that stuff, and they just have a wider perspective on life and how good they have it. I mean, having Belko is a great example. Like, he's seen what communism really does to people. Like,
go sit with Belko for half an hour and listen to his growing up reality in Bulgaria, where there's always chaos.
Yeah. So, but that's one of those things where I think because people are so ignorant, because they've never gotten out of their comfort zone and how easy they have it here, they don't know. They can't accept those things, and they don't have appreciation for it. So I do. That's why I think it's so important for my kids that they see this stuff, to Brent's point, is so that they can better process these things. So when they see somebody and talk to somebody they don't know, or perhaps a different color or a different ethnicity, or, from a different country, like, they know how to react. It's not all about America, whatever. Like, they want to know, they want to learn, they want to, find that common ground, find that level in which they can actually, have a conversation against no one another.
Today's angry Canadian rant was brought to you by Johnny Cuts.
Johnny Cuts and
Johnny
Bass.
Badass barber. Yeah.
Johnny Cuts, best story.
God, he's hurting. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I'm sorry I went off, but I'm just so tired of everyone going on about what their right is, and this is my right and that's my right, and I don't care what side of the aisle you're on anymore. Everyone's going on about what's their right. It's a fucking privilege. Like, we are so privileged to live in the Western Hemisphere. We are so privileged to have everything we have, especially now during this sort of pandemic. Can you imagine being anywhere has even half of the services we have every single day and have to deal with this?
Like Detroit?
Well, look at South Africa. Like, there's like people being like, guns being held to people just because they're not distancing themselves in lineups in some of the ghettos there. Like, we have no idea. Like, we have zero idea about how it could possibly be.
We're baby asses.
Yeah.
Did anyone catch my Burger King social distancing?
I saw that.
That's pretty nice, yeah.
Well, if you could go back and like that again, I'd really appreciate that.
And share it. It helps the algorithm.
Share, it really up my validation. Awesome. Hey, guys, I think we wrapped it up extremely well. I, as always, appreciate you. Just the other morning when you and I, we were texting back on Dave's, taking back on what Dave's position, governmental position would be and stuff like that. Those type of things for a morning where for an hour straight, we just bang, 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 one hit and punchline after the other. That is why you guys keep me sane. So, and I'm not out screaming at people.
We got to wrap this up because I got to take a 45-minute hot shower now just to wash the anger off me.
Yeah.
Hey, Facebook.
Hey,
You
Facebook.
need to take a hot shower to wash the anger off.
I just wanted to say thank you as well. And again, I don't really care if anybody else is watching, but the point is,
No one is.
it's still great to see.
We don't
you guys.
care.
It's great to have some type of interaction. And I just hope everybody else is, staying sane somewhat. Do what you got to do, but, be smart. But don't lose your mind. Just do what you got to do, but be safe and be sane and be smart. Enjoy the holiday. It's a nice day. I'm going to try to get outside after this.
I think most of us are still working because it's the automotive.
Yeah. To all my Canadian viewers watching right now, which is just me watching us, happy Monday.
All right, hey,
Happy Victoria Day last week, okay?
That was last week, yeah.
Is that better?
The Queen, exactly.
Victoria, you guys have something after Beckham?
Yes.
Yeah, it's exactly it.
Yeah, we celebrate his wife.
Yeah. I'll talk to you guys later.
Later, guys.
Guys, thanks to our guests. Thanks, Micah. Thanks, Belko.
Yeah, thanks, Velko. Thanks, Micah. You guys are kick ass.
Keep playing along, guys. See ya.